guys, so this video was I think this is going to be a week of inspiration, but you guys are sending me comments, and I just love it. Thank you so much. You're inspiring me to make all these other videos, so that's super cool. But I received a comment, and it was basically just saying, like, I can't believe that you grew up the way you've become the man that you have become with all the stuff that you went through as a child. And there are videos, I go in on my mom and my dad, and I point out their flaws, and there were many, and I mean, there was good stuff too, but I'm just gonna be honest, they were not the best parents. So I can say that, but I also, in the same breath, have to mention my stepmom, which I don't know if I really have fully, but that's what this video is about, my stepmom. So now, the first time that my stepmom kind of entered the picture in my life was when my mom found out that my dad had been cheating on her with my stepmom. And I must have been like maybe 10 or so at the time. But I remember my mom, you know, she went to my dad's job, and my stepmom was out there, and they get into a fight, and my stepmom bit my mom's ear. And I remember my mom said something like, "Oh, you want to bite?" And she bit her cheek, and she put my stepmom in the hospital. And so that was kind of like how she entered my world, right? So then fast forward, we get to the point where my mom, you know, we're living in a crack house, and it's my mom and me and my two sisters, and her just one day leaving. So my dad picked us up and took us to live with my stepmom with two of my other siblings who had already been living with him. So this is like my first true introduction to my stepmom. And I remember her saying something to my dad about how dirty we were, and she you know, she just did that with this face that me being a mama's boy, and I knew she was, in a way, she was criticizing my mom. So of course I took that to heart, and I'm gonna save the details of that introduction for maybe never, but let's just say it didn't end well for me because I had something to say about that. But anyway, so that was my true introduction to my stepmom. Needless to say, it did not go well. And I was just hating life at that point, as you can imagine. Not only did that happen, but then, you know, my stepmom was older than both of my parents, and her kids were already grown and out of the house. And so now she has 5 of us, and we're all sleeping on the sofa bed in the living room. So it was not great, you know. And on top of that, my stepmom only spoke Spanish. At that point, I only spoke English, except for a few minor words, you know, the bad words, of course. But so then there was that barrier as well. But needless to say, we didn't get along, and we didn't have a good relationship at first. But through the years, things changed drastically, I have to say. Obviously, first off, my stepmom learned some more English. I learned more Spanish. We were able to communicate. As any New Yorican knows, it's like this Spanglish thing that's going on. But so that improved. Another thing that improved for me was that my stepmom, she introduced a normalcy of family that I didn't think I was gonna get. Like, she was very much the, you know, now she took her weekends off, but Monday through Friday, she, you know, cooked, cleaned, and you come home at a certain time, and you're responsible for your own stuff. And she had this thing that I still take with me to this day, which is you never leave a room without something in your hand. And so I still do that to this day. But that was from my stepmom. So it was just a lot of structure, which I had none of, to be honest with you, up to that point. So that was something I appreciated. I didn't think that I would, but it really did change my life in a great way. Even after joining the military, and just for the rest of my life, those basic skills that she taught me remain, and I'm so proud of that. And there was also the fact that she was present. You know, I've mentioned this in my other videos, but my parents really weren't. So for my graduations, for all these special moments that were happening in my life, all of a sudden I had a parent that was there, and I wasn't used to that either. Man, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional with this one, but she was there. She was proud. Whew. She was proud of me, and I didn't know what that felt like until her. And you know, I mentioned this in another video, but like, even with the first guy that I dated, you know, I remember her. He came to pick me up in his car. He honked the horn. She looks out the window. He says, "I'm looking for Mikey," and she turns around and says, "Tu amiguito está aquí," which means like your little friend is here, which sounds kind of plain and basic, but in Puerto Rican Spanish, to say your little friend, there's so much more behind that. It's not just your friend, it's your little friend, and that means I knew at that moment that she knew about me. And here's the thing, she had a sister who was a lesbian who lived a few floors above us for a couple of years, and so I knew she was accepting of her. I didn't know if she would extend that acceptance to me, and in that moment I knew that she did. And even before that moment, we had gotten to the point to where, you know, okay, one of the things that she would do is that she would drink on the weekends a lot, you know. And so my dad was on drugs, so you have that combination, lots of arguing, right? So that was a common thing on the weekends, is they would get into an argument, and she would, you know, I would come home and she would be at the kitchen table drinking, playing Ana Gabriel or some, you know, some other, usually like Mexican, you know, music of love and heartbreak and all that stuff. And so I'd hear the music, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go again, to going in. But one thing that she did only with me, so to think about where it started to now this point, is that she would go, sit down, I want to talk to you. Like, oh gosh, here we go. So I would sit down and she would like just grab my hand and she would go, "I don't know if I'm going to stay with your dad, but I want you to know one thing. I don't care what anybody says. You are my son, and I love you, and you're coming with me." Of course, she always stayed, you know, but she would always say that. And I mean, I'll save the detail, but just stuff like that, to where she just let me know that even out of all of the siblings, that she looked at me differently, and that she loved me, and that she appreciated me. And man, I wish that either of my parents could have spoken to me that way. I don't think they had the tools. I don't think they knew how to do it. But luckily, she was brought into my life, and she gave me that. She showed me what I needed. So, it's because of her, I know without a doubt, that I am who I am today. And I don't know where I would be if she wasn't brought into my life. So yeah, I wanted to make this video because she's no longer with us. But I wanted to make this video just to say thank you, Silvia, por todo, for everything, and I love you. And man, I know it's probably not a common, I hope it's a common thing, but I hope that you guys can relate. I want to hear, like, subscribe, but I want to hear comments of, I hope that what I experienced, the relationship that I had with my stepmom, is not unique, and that you guys will comment and tell me your stories, because what a sucky ass world if it's not common, right? Bye.